Jungkook froze when Jimin whispered, "I know the truth." Fans are screaming, face screaming in fear. Broken heart, don't turn around. Not yet, Jimin whispered, breath trembling against the back of Jungkook's neck. Because I know the truth. The words cut through the dim backstage hallway like a blade. Jungkook stood completely still, fingers tightening around the cold metal railing beside him. Sweat trickled down his temple, not from the performance they had just finished, but from the unbearable weight of Jimin's voice. A quiet, wounded, all-knowing voice. Jungkook finally exhaled, chest tight as if something enormous had just caught up to him after years of running. The faint hum of stage equipment and muffled cheers of fans beyond the walls faded until all that existed was the sound of Jimin's breathing. Jungkook didn't dare look back. He knew that if he saw Jimin's face right now, those eyes that saw through him effortlessly, he might break. What truth? Jungkook asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted the answer. A soft chuckle escaped Jimin, but it wasn't the warm, playful sound Jungkook loved. It was painful. Heavy. Shaken. You think I wouldn't notice? You think I wouldn't feel it every time you pulled away, every time you lied with that smile of yours? Jungkook closed his eyes. He had trained himself for years to control his trembling, but this time it was useless. His body betrayed him. Jimin stepped closer. Jungkook felt the warmth of him, the familiar scent of sweat, cologne, and something uniquely Jimin, gentle yet fierce. A presence that always grounded him, except now it felt like the ground was splitting open beneath both of them. You've been hiding something from me, Jimin said. And I'm done pretending not to notice. The hallway lights flickered overhead, casting long shadows that wavered across the walls. Jungkook finally turned slowly, afraid of what he would see. Jimin's eyes were shining, not with anger, but with hurt. A deep, raw hurt Jungkook had never meant to cause. I want to understand, Jimin said softly. But you keep shutting me out. Jungkook swallowed hard. He had never been good at explaining the chaos inside him. He carried fears like armor, perfectionism like chains, and a secret, something he had convinced himself would ruin everything if spoken aloud. But now Jimin was looking at him with so much emotion it made Jungkook's knees weaken. What truth do you think you know? Jungkook whispered, struggling to keep his voice steady. Jimin stepped closer until their faces were inches apart. His voice cracked. That you're scared. That something is eating you alive. That you keep pushing me away because you think you're protecting me. But I see you, Jungkook. Every version of you. Even the one you want to hide. Jungkook's breath hitched. His chest felt too small. And the truth, his truth, clawed desperately at his throat. But Jimin wasn't finished. And I know, he said, voice trembling, that it has something to do with us. The word us almost made Jungkook break. He turned his head, leaning against the wall, trying to breathe through the storm in his chest. Jimin, you don't understand. If I tell you everything, if you hear what's actually going on in my head, I'll stay, Jimin said immediately, fiercely. No matter what it is. Jungkook felt something inside him shift. A dam cracking. For years, Jungkook had carried a terror he never named. A fear that if he said the wrong thing, felt too deeply, or needed someone too much, that person would run from him. Abandon him. He had spent so long pretending to be strong that vulnerability felt like stepping into fire. I'm not good at this, Jungkook whispered. Letting someone in. Jimin's voice softened to a whisper. I know. And I hate that I hurt you without meaning to. I know. And I hate. Jungkook hesitated, jaw clenching. I hate how terrified I am of losing you. Jimin blinked, tears gathering. That's the truth you were hiding? No. Jungkook finally looked straight into Jimin's eyes. The truth is worse. Jimin held his breath. Jungkook took a shaky step forward. The truth is, I care about you more than I'm supposed to. More than I know how to handle. And every time I pull away, it's because I'm scared that if you saw everything I feel, you'd turn around and leave. The hallway fell silent. Jimin stared at him, expression softening in shock, then in something deeper, something warm and painful at the same time. Jungkook, he whispered. I never wanted distance. I just wanted you. All of you. The real you. Jungkook's shoulders finally slumped, as though he had been carrying a weight for years. Jimin reached out slowly, giving Jungkook time to pull away, but Jungkook didn't. Their hands met, warm and trembling, fingers intertwining naturally as if they had been trying to find each other all this time. I'm here, Jimin said. Even with your fears. Even with the mess. Even with the truth. Jungkook shut his eyes, letting Jimin's words settle into the cracks inside him. When he opened them again, he saw Jimin's face, gentle, emotional, brave. And for the first time, Jungkook didn't look away. I don't want to run anymore, Jungkook whispered. Then don't, Jimin replied, stepping forward and resting his forehead against Jungkook's. Their breaths mingled, warm and trembling. Just stay. With me. Jungkook let out a shaky laugh, the first genuine one all night. I'm trying. Jimin smiled softly, touching Jungkook's cheek with a tenderness that made Jungkook's heart clench. You don't have to try. Just be here. And Jungkook was fully, vulnerably, honestly. The truth no longer felt like something to fear, but something he could finally hold in the open air between them. Their hands remained tightly intertwined as they walked out of the dim hallway together, not as two people hiding secrets, but as two souls who had finally spoken the truth out loud. And for once, Jungkook didn't freeze. He moved forward, with Jimin beside him always. Jungkook didn't notice how tightly he was holding Jimin's hand until they stepped into the quiet dressing room, far from the roaring crowd outside. The door clicked shut behind them, muffling the world until everything felt suspended, like time had bent itself around the two of them. Jimin let go first. Not abruptly, but slowly, as if testing how Jungkook would react. Jungkook's fingers twitched at the loss, and Jimin noticed. Of course he noticed, he always did. Are you sure you're okay? Jimin asked, voice gentle but edged with a seriousness that made Jungkook's throat tighten. You looked like you were about to fall apart back there. Jungkook sank onto the leather couch, elbows on his knees, hands clasped tightly. I was. I still feel like I am. Jimin sat beside him, close enough that their shoulders brushed. Then talk to me. Don't shut down again. Not tonight. The room smelled of makeup wipes, warm lights, faint cologne, and leftover adrenaline. Jungkook stared at the floor, watching the shadows from their moving feet. His pulse drummed in his ears. You think I'm hiding something cruel, Jungkook said quietly. Something that has to do with you. But it's not like that. Then what is it? Jimin pressed. If it's not cruel, then why does it hurt so much? Jungkook exhaled sharply. Because I never wanted to drag you into my chaos. Jimin scoffed, hurt, but not mocking. You talk like I'm someone who needs protecting from you. Jungkook, do you hear how ridiculous that sounds? Jungkook raised his head. It's not ridiculous. You don't understand how much I care. It makes everything dangerous. Jimin's eyebrows drew together. Dangerous? For who? For both of us, Jungkook said, voice cracking. Jimin's expression softened, but his tone did not. Your silence is what hurts us. Your fear is what's dangerous. Not the truth. Jungkook turned toward him sharply. And what if the truth ruins everything? What if the truth makes you look at me differently? Jimin leaned in, eyes locked on his. I already look at you differently. Jungkook froze again, breath catching. What does that? Jimin cut him off. Every time you pull away, I feel like you're choosing fear over me. Every time you lie with a smile, I feel the distance stretching. And every time you look at me with those eyes filled with something you won't name, I feel something tearing in my chest. Jungkook swallowed hard. Jimin, you think I don't know you? Jimin whispered. You think I don't know when you're hurting? When you're scared? When you want something so badly but you're terrified to reach for it? Jungkook forced himself to meet his gaze. I'm scared of wanting things I can't have. What if you can have them? Jimin whispered back. Jungkook's lips parted, breath trembling. Don't say things like that. Why not? Because I'll believe you. Jimin stared at him, eyes wide, stunned by the honesty in Jungkook's voice. A moment of silence thickened the air between them. A dangerous, intimate silence filled with all the undeniable electricity they had tried to bury for years. Jungkook broke first, standing abruptly, pacing the room with shaking hands. This isn't supposed to happen. Not between us. Not like this. Jimin followed him with his eyes, voice low and steady. Then tell me how it's supposed to happen, Jungkook. Jungkook laughed a breathless, cracked laugh. I don't know. I never know. All I know is that I feel too much when it comes to you, and it scares the hell out of me. Jimin stood as well, closing the distance until Jungkook was backed against the makeup table. Then let it scare you. You don't have to pretend to be unbreakable around me. Jungkook whispered, I don't want to break in front of you. Then let me hold you when you do, Jimin said, his voice shaking now too. Why is that so impossible for you? Jungkook looked away, jaw tight. Because you're the one person I can't afford to lose. Jimin's breath hitched, eyes softening with a heartbreakingly tender shock. Jungkook, look at me. Jungkook didn't move. Look at me, Jimin repeated, firmer this time. Jungkook finally lifted his head and Jimin stepped forward until they were inches apart. You won't lose me, Jimin said. Even if you tell me everything. Even if it scares you. Even if it scares me. Jungkook whispered, barely audible, I don't deserve you. Jimin cupped Jungkook's jaw gently, guiding his face back toward his. You don't get to decide that. I do. Jungkook's breath trembled. I don't know how to stop wanting more. Jimin's thumb brushed Jungkook's cheek, slow and deliberate. Then don't stop. The room felt too small. Too warm. Too honest. Jungkook's voice dropped, almost desperate. Jimin, what are we doing? Having a real conversation for the first time in years, Jimin whispered. And maybe, finally admitting the things we've both been afraid to say. Jungkook closed his eyes, overwhelmed by the sincerity coating Jimin's words. If I tell you everything, it changes us. Maybe it's time we changed, Jimin said. Jungkook opened his eyes again, fear and longing warring inside him. And if the change hurts you? Jimin smiled sadly. You've been hurting me by keeping quiet. At least this way, the pain has a purpose. Jungkook let out a trembling breath. I don't know how to do this. Do it scared, Jimin replied. Just, don't run from me. Jungkook's hands finally rose slowly, cautiously, and rested at Jimin's waist, fingers curling into the fabric as if asking permission without words. Jimin's eyes softened even more. You don't need permission to be honest with me. Jungkook leaned closer, forehead brushing Jimin's. This feels like too much. It feels like us, Jimin whispered. Jungkook felt his resolve collapsing. His fear unraveling. His truth clawing its way out. He inhaled shakily, breath catching against Jimin's cheek. Jimin. I don't just care about you. Jimin's heart pounded visibly in his throat. Jungkook swallowed hard, voice trembling with sincerity that bordered on raw. I'm in love with you. Jimin's breath stopped. The room stilled. Jungkook looked terrified, exposed in a way he had never been before. That's the truth. The one I've been running from. The one I didn't want you to know because I was scared it would destroy everything. Jimin's eyes filled instantly, shock, emotion, disbelief, and something impossibly warm. He didn't speak. He didn't breathe. He just reached forward, grabbed Jungkook's shirt, and pulled him into a desperate, trembling embrace. Jungkook froze, then melted into it with a broken sigh, arms circling Jimin, holding him like he'd fall apart if he let go. Jimin buried his face in Jungkook's shoulder, voice shaking into his skin. You idiot. How long were you planning to hide that from me? Jungkook whispered into his hair, forever. Jimin pulled back enough to look him in the eyes, cheeks wet, smile trembling. Then it's a good thing I didn't let you. Jungkook brushed a thumb across Jimin's cheek, wiping a tear. You're not scared. I'm terrified, Jimin whispered. But I'm not going anywhere. Jungkook felt something inside him finally settle. A battle he had been fighting alone for years, finally ending. They remained wrapped in each other's arms, breathing softly, holding tightly, letting the truth settle between them, not as something dangerous, but as something real and undeniable. For the first time, nothing was hidden, nothing was running, nothing was breaking. And nothing, absolutely nothing, felt more right. Jungkook didn't remember moving. One moment, he was holding Jimin in a trembling embrace. The next, they were standing inches apart, breathing unevenly in the dim dressing room, staring at each other like neither could believe what had just been spoken aloud. The world outside kept roaring, vibrating faintly through the floor, but inside this quiet room, everything felt painfully, dangerously still. Jimin brushed his hair back, trying to gather himself, but his hands shook. You don't understand what you just did to me. Jungkook frowned softly. What do you mean? You said something you can't take back, Jimin whispered, voice raw. And I don't know how to act calm about it. Jungkook stepped closer, instinctively drawn to him. You don't have to be calm. Jimin laughed, a breathless, shocked sound. That's the problem. I'm not calm at all. I'm messed up right now. Because this changes everything I thought I understood. Does that make you angry? Jungkook asked quietly, bracing for impact. It makes me feel too much, Jimin said. And I don't know how to handle too much when it comes to you. The admission made Jungkook's chest warm with something he couldn't hide this time. Jimin looked down at Jungkook's hands, still slightly curled, as if reaching for him without thinking. You've been holding this inside for how long? Years, Jungkook admitted. Before I even realized it. Jimin inhaled sharply. And you never said anything. Even when I was begging you to talk to me. Jungkook's jaw tightened. I didn't want you to feel responsible for my feelings. Responsible? Jimin repeated, stepping closer with sudden frustration. You think that's what I'd feel? Do you think so little of how much I care about you? Jungkook's brows furrowed, hurt flickering through his eyes. I didn't want you to feel trapped. Jimin shook his head, voice rising with honest frustration. You trapped me more by staying silent. Jungkook stared at him, stunned. What do you mean? Jimin's chest rose and fell with unsteady breaths. You kept pulling me close, then pushing me away. You'd look at me like I was the only one who mattered, then pretend it meant nothing. You made me feel like I was losing my mind every time you walked out of a room too fast. Jungkook swallowed hard. I didn't know it was affecting you like that. That's the point, Jimin said softly. You didn't let me know anything. Jungkook lowered his gaze. I'm sorry. Jimin closed his eyes, steadied himself, then whispered, I don't want your apology. I want your honesty. When Jimin opened his eyes again, Jungkook finally saw it, hurt, confusion, longing, and something deeper that scared them both. Do you regret telling me? Jimin asked suddenly. The question hit Jungkook with the force of a punch. No, he said instantly, voice trembling with conviction. I regret hiding it. I regret hurting you. But I don't regret the truth. Jimin's lips parted, surprised by the intensity of the answer. Jungkook stepped closer, close enough that Jimin had to tilt his head back a little to maintain eye contact. Do you hate me for it? Jimin let out a shaky breath. I couldn't hate you if I tried. Jungkook's hand lifted slowly, hesitating inches from Jimin's cheek. Jimin didn't move away. He didn't even blink. His breath hitched the moment Jungkook's fingers brushed his skin, gentle, trembling, reverent. Jimin whispered, Why do you always touch me like I'm fragile? Because I'm scared of hurting you, Jungkook admitted. You already have, Jimin replied softly. But I'm still here. The room grew heavier, more charged. Jungkook's thumb traced the edge of Jimin's jaw, slow and almost trembling. Jimin leaned subtly into the touch, breath unsteady. Jungkook, he murmured, tell me the rest. The rest? Jungkook's voice came out barely audible. You didn't just hide your feelings, Jimin said, eyes searching his. There's something else. Something darker. I felt it for months. That fear you carry. That guilt. Jungkook's heart lurched painfully in his chest. Jimin, I'm not backing away, Jimin said, stepping even closer. So tell me. Jungkook looked away, jaw working as he fought the instinct to retreat. It's complicated. Everything about us is complicated, Jimin whispered. But I want to know. I deserve to know. Jungkook leaned against the makeup table, head dropping into his hand. You're going to hate me. Try me, Jimin said, voice firm. Jungkook's voice cracked as he finally spoke. I'm not scared of loving you, Jimin. I'm scared I ruined you along the way. Jimin blinked in confusion. Ruined me? How? Jungkook looked up, eyes filled with guilt he had never allowed anyone to see. Because while I was trying to hide my feelings, I kept doing things that blurred the line. I kept getting close, then running. I made you doubt yourself. I made you question everything. I made you break down more times than I should have. Jimin swallowed, throat tight. You think your feelings ruined me? Jungkook nodded slowly. Yes. Jimin stepped toward him with a soft, trembling laugh. You're such an idiot. Jungkook stared, taken aback. Jimin reached out, placing both hands on Jungkook's face, forcing him to meet his eyes. You didn't ruin me. You confused me, scared me, made me feel things I didn't understand. But you didn't ruin me. Jungkook leaned into the touch, eyes fluttering shut. It feels like I did. You didn't, Jimin whispered. If anything, you made me realize how much I feel too. Jungkook's eyes snapped open. You feel? Jimin cut him off, voice suddenly shaky but resolute. I don't know what to call it yet. I don't know the shape of it. But it's there, Jungkook. And it's been there for a long time. Jungkook froze, not in fear but in disbelief. Jimin's thumb brushed Jungkook's lips, slow and tender. You're not alone in this. Not anymore. Jungkook felt his chest cave in with relief so overwhelming it almost hurt, but before he could say anything, a sharp knock echoed on the door. Both of them jerked slightly. Jungkook's hand instinctively grabbed Jimin's wrist, pulling him closer. Jimin? Jungkook, a voice called. A staff member. You two okay in there? Jungkook's breath caught, panic flashing through his eyes. He looked at Jimin, uncertain, afraid everything would shatter the moment the door opened. Jimin reached up, resting a hand over Jungkook's racing heart. We're fine, he called out calmly. Then he leaned in, whispering against Jungkook's ear, we'll finish this. Just us. Later. Jungkook shivered at the promise in his voice. Jimin pulled back with a soft, almost daring smile, one Jungkook hadn't seen in a long time. A smile full of danger, honesty, and something that felt dangerously close to affection. Jungkook stared at him, breathless. Nothing about them was simple. Nothing about them was safe, but for the first time, neither wanted things to go back to the way they were, and the night was far from over. The hallway outside the dressing room buzzed with noise, but Jungkook barely heard any of it. His pulse was still echoing in his ears, his breath uneven from everything he and Jimin had just confessed. The moment they stepped out, the lights felt too bright, the crowd too loud, the air too sharp, as if the world had no idea two of its brightest stars had just crossed a line they couldn't uncross. Jimin walked slightly ahead, shoulders straight, face unreadable to anyone who didn't know him. But Jungkook knew him too well. The tension in Jimin's movements wasn't anger, it was intensity, raw and tightly controlled. Something alive and dangerous. Jungkook followed, steps slower, unsure if he should stay close or give Jimin space. He finally decided on the middle ground, walking just behind him, close enough to hear his breathing, far enough not to overwhelm him. Jimin didn't say a word until they reached a back corridor, dimmer and quieter, away from staff hurrying around. Then he stopped short. Jungkook halted too, heart leaping. Jimin. Jimin turned around slowly, eyes flicking over Jungkook's face with a seriousness that made Jungkook's stomach twist. Don't look at me like that. Like what? Like you're afraid I'm going to run. Jungkook swallowed. Are you? Jimin blinked, stunned, almost offended. No. I'm trying to breathe. Jungkook exhaled, relief hitting him so fast his knees went weak. I'm sorry. Everything feels fragile. Jimin stepped closer, lowering his voice. Not fragile. Just new. Jungkook nodded, but his doubt lingered. Jimin caught it instantly. He always did. You're doing it again, Jimin said softly. Doing what? Punishing yourself. Jungkook looked away, jaw clenched. Jimin sighed and reached out, gripping Jungkook's wrist, not gently, but not harshly either. Firm. Grounding. Look at me. Jungkook forced himself to, and immediately regretted hesitating, because the second he met Jimin's gaze, the world shrank again. It was just them. Breathing the same air. Wanting in the same direction, though neither fully understood what they were reaching for. I meant what I said, Jimin whispered. I haven't decided what everything means yet, but I feel something. A lot of things. And I'm not running from it. Jungkook's breath caught. Then why does it feel like you're pulling away? Jimin's eyes flashed, hurt, disbelief, frustration mingled together. I'm not pulling away. I'm trying to keep myself from falling apart in the middle of a hallway. Jungkook felt the words pierce straight through him. Because of me. Jimin's grip tightened. Because you told me you love me. Silence hit harder than any shout could. Jungkook opened his mouth, closed it, and tried again. If it was too much, it wasn't too much, Jimin cut in. It was just real. And real things take a second to process. Jungkook felt warmth bloom painfully in his chest. I'm still scared. So am I, Jimin said. And maybe that's okay. Maybe we don't have to pretend we're not. A few footsteps echoed distantly, staff moving equipment somewhere nearby. But neither Jungkook nor Jimin moved. Jimin's thumb traced a slow, unconscious circle over the inside of Jungkook's wrist. Jungkook felt the motion everywhere. Jungkook, Jimin said softly, can I ask you something? Anything. Why now? Jimin's voice trembled slightly. Why tell me tonight? Jungkook leaned his back against the wall, needing something solid. Because you cornered me, he said honestly. Because you said I know the truth, and for a moment, I thought it was over. That you'd figured everything out on your own. I panicked. Jimin stepped closer. Too close. And your panic made you confess. My panic made me realize I couldn't keep lying, Jungkook whispered. Especially not to you. Jimin looked at him for a long, searching moment. I thought I scared you. You did, Jungkook admitted. But not in a bad way. You scared me because you saw through me. Because you always see through me. Jimin's expression softened. And that's a bad thing. It's the thing that makes me fall harder, Jungkook said, voice cracking. Jimin's breath hitched audibly. Jungkook felt the shift instantly, the way the air thickened, the way Jimin's eyes flickered downward and back up, the way his chest rose a little faster. He stepped closer until Jungkook's back pressed fully against the wall, Jimin right in front of him. Do you know what you're doing? Jimin asked, barely above a whisper. No, Jungkook breathed. Do you? No, Jimin replied. But I know what I'm feeling. Jungkook's heart slammed painfully. What are you feeling? Jimin tilted his head slightly, his lips inches from Jungkook's. Something dangerous. Jungkook inhaled sharply. Jimin, you think I haven't felt this pull? Jimin whispered, voice trembling. You think I haven't spent nights trying to convince myself I was imagining it? Jungkook's hands instinctively rose but hovered, unsure where to rest. Jimin noticed the hesitation and reached for Jungkook's hands, guiding them slowly, deliberately, to rest at Jimin's waist. Jungkook's breath cracked. You shouldn't let me. Stop telling me what I should or shouldn't do, Jimin said, stepping impossibly closer. I'm not fragile. And neither is whatever this is. But it could break us, Jungkook whispered. Jimin nodded. Or it could fix everything we broke by pretending. A voice echoed distantly down the corridor, someone calling their names. Both froze, staring at each other, chests rising and falling rapidly, hearts pounding so loudly Jungkook thought it might echo in the hallway. Jimin didn't move away. He leaned in until his forehead touched Jungkook's. His breath was warm, shaking against Jungkook's lips. We need to go, Jimin murmured. Jungkook nodded weakly. Yeah. But this isn't over, Jimin said. The way he said it sent a shiver down Jungkook's spine. Not a threat. Not a promise. Something deeper. Something inevitable. Jimin finally stepped back slowly, like he didn't really want to. Jungkook exhaled shakily, grounding himself. Tonight, Jimin said over his shoulder as he began walking away, come find me. Jungkook froze. Jimin didn't turn around. He just added, softer, I'll leave the light on. And Jungkook knew the night was going to change everything again. The rain had stopped by morning, but the city still looked bruised, sky pale and heavy, streets slick with yesterday's grief. Jungkook hadn't gone home. He sat outside the studio all night, soaked to the bone, staring at the building as if the truth itself was locked inside its walls. Taehyung had fallen asleep in the car, drained from shouting, but Jungkook didn't close his eyes once. He kept replaying Jimin's final words in his mind like a curse. You'll find the truth in the final note. When dawn came, Jungkook stood, water dripping from his sleeves, and whispered to himself, if that's what you want, I'll finish it. He unlocked the door again. The air inside was colder now, almost metallic. The silence pressed against his ears like weight. The mirrors, the shards, the dust, everything was the same, except for one thing. His lyric sheet, which he'd left on the floor, was gone. Looking for this? The voice came from behind him. Yoongi was leaning against the doorframe, a cigarette between his fingers, eyes dark and tired. Jungkook's throat tightened. What are you doing here? Taehyung called me. Yoongi's tone was even, but there was something trembling under it. He said you're losing your mind. That you're seeing things. Jungkook stared at him. You all think this is about ghosts, don't you? But you're wrong. This is about what you never told me. Yoongi exhaled smoke and stepped inside. You think we hid something from you? No you did. Jungkook's voice cracked with anger. Taehyung said Jimin jumped. But he didn't, did he? Yoongi froze for half a second, just enough to confirm it. Jungkook's tone sharpened. What really happened, Hyung? Yoongi crushed the cigarette in his hand, his expression tightening. You're not ready. Jungkook took a step forward, eyes blazing. Then make me ready. Yoongi sighed, staring at the floor. You want the truth? Fine. But you won't like what you hear. Say it. Yoongi met his eyes. It wasn't suicide. But it wasn't an accident either. It was a fight. The words hit like glass shattering in his chest. A fight. You and him. Yoongi's tone was heavy. That night after rehearsal, after everyone left, you two argued. About the song. About control. About what the group had become. He wanted to quit. You told him he was selfish. Jungkook's breath faltered. Fragments of memory started to surface. Jimin's voice, sharp and trembling, his own words thrown back like knives. I don't remember. You blocked it out, Yoongi said quietly. When he left that night, you followed him outside. The balcony. The rain. You kept yelling. He turned to say something, but he slipped. Jungkook's hands shook violently. No, Yoongi's eyes softened. You tried to grab him. You almost did. But you didn't. Jungkook backed away, his vision blurring. You're lying. We found you on the floor, Jungkook, Yoongi said, voice breaking for the first time. You were covered in his blood. You kept saying his name over and over, like if you said it enough, he'd come back. Jungkook collapsed to his knees. Stop. You were in shock. You wouldn't speak for days. Namjoon took care of the reports, the press, everything. We agreed to say it was an accident because you couldn't live with what really happened. The room began to spin. The mirrors flickered again, faintly glowing with ghostly movement. Jungkook pressed his hands against the floor, gasping. I didn't mean to. I know, Yoongi said softly. We all know. Jungkook lifted his head, tears burning down his cheeks. Then why didn't you tell me? Because you forgot, Yoongi whispered. You chose to forget. The doctors said it was trauma. That forcing the memory back could break you. But he didn't leave me, Jungkook said, his voice cracking. He's still here. I saw him. Yoongi's gaze darkened. You're seeing what your guilt wants you to see. But that doesn't mean he's not listening. Jungkook shook his head violently, standing again. He told me to finish the song. He wants me to find the last verse. Yoongi looked at him for a long time. Then he reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper, the missing lyric sheet. You already wrote it. You just never sang it. Jungkook took the paper with trembling hands. At the bottom, in handwriting that wasn't his, were new lines if the world forgets me, let the melody remembered if I fall, let your voice carry what mine couldn't say. His tears blurred the ink. He whispered, he wrote this? Yoongi nodded. He recorded something too. It was supposed to be his verse for the song you two were working on. We never released it. None of us could. Where is it? Yoongi hesitated. Are you sure you want to hear it? I need to. Yoongi sighed, then handed him a small USB drive. It's all there. Everything he left behind. Jungkook looked at it like it was sacred, his reflection trembling in the metal surface. Thank you, Hyung. Yoongi lingered at the door. When you listen to it, don't blame yourself again. You've done that long enough. Then he left, closing the door behind him. The studio was silent again. Jungkook plugged the USB into his laptop, his heart pounding so loud it felt like thunder. A single file appeared, *finalnote.wav. He pressed play.at first. There was just the sound of rain, faint, distant. Then Jimin's voice came through. Not singing. Just speaking. I know you'll hate me for this. But maybe one day, you'll understand. The song isn't about leaving. It's about staying even when I can't. You said music never dies, right? Then let me live there. There was a pause. Jungkook's breathing hitched as the piano began, soft, slow, familiar. Then Jimin sang. Every note carried weight, grief, love. His voice was fragile but beautiful, each lyric like a confession wrapped in melody. Jungkook felt his chest tearing open as he whispered along, remembering the harmonies they used to share. When the song ended, Jimin spoke one last time. If you're hearing this, it means you came back. Don't stay too long in the dark, Jungkook. Sing it once, for both of us, and then let it go. The recording clicked off. Jungkook sat there for a long time, staring at the screen, the tears unstoppable. Then he stood. He took the old mic from the corner, brushed the dust off, and powered up the system. The lights flickered, the air heavy with something unspoken. He hit record, and for the first time in 10 years, Jungkook sang the song in full. His voice cracked, bled, healed, soared. Every word Jimin had written poured through him like fire and forgiveness. The sound filled the studio, echoing against every wall that once held their laughter, every floorboard that once caught their steps. When he reached the final verse, Jimin's verse, he closed his eyes and whispered, "This is for you." The final note lingered, long and trembling, before fading into silence. When he opened his eyes, he saw it, faint, almost imperceptible, Jimin's reflection smiling back from the mirror, warm and at peace. Jungkook smiled through his tears. "You kept your promise." Then the reflection faded with the dawn light outside. The city was waking up. The rain had stopped for good. Jungkook packed the USB and lyric sheet carefully into his bag, walked out of the studio, and didn't look back. As the door swung shut behind him, the faint echo of two voices, his and Jimin's, rose softly from within, harmonizing one last time. The song was finished. And so were they.